fine.
Hey guys.
Hey, it's Bill
and Christina, and we are from Sovereignty Lab. And today we wanted to talk about some of the subtleties that are happening when we're being manipulated that we may not be aware of.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and how this can cause us to very subtly be pulled off center.
Well, I think it ties in with like the whole spiritual warfare that's going on right now. It's happening on a lot of different levels, and it's both within us and around us that we're running into these conflicts. And these are aspects that in our dialogue and just in our own day-to-day thing, it's coming more to the forefront. So
yeah, this is, I mean, for months and months and months, it's like a time of great discernment. And so like when you zoom back and like want to know a little bit more about what that means, you know, it's like we're having to decide things faster and with more care and more precision than we were before.
There's less of a margin of error.
Yes.
Like we don't have the ability to be like, oh, well, I'll hang out with this person, see how it goes. And it's like, it just doesn't work that way anymore.
Right. It's like you either know or it's not, it's a no.
And I liken it to like, as you fine tune a engine on a car, the more you get it lined up, the better the engine runs. Or like a Formula One race car as opposed to a smash up derby kind of car, that you have to have things running more finely tuned. And I think it ties in with the acceleration, vibrational acceleration of things that's happening as a result of, I don't know,
the shifts that we're going through. I mean, I don't even know the best way to put it other than we know that things are different. We know that we're feeling a shift, a change, a pull, that something big is in the works, and we're not always sure what it is, right? So a lot of you feel that. And if you're feeling that and you're really, tuning into that, like, you need to hear this message, because we are on the other side of this. Well, as we're going through this and we get on the other side, and I'm not even sure where the other side of it is, if we, if it's just a continuous journey or not.
It's an involvement.
I think so too. It's like our leadership role in what's happening now is just crucial. Like, the leaders are being called into this path of like fine discernment, watching out for the manipulation, and to understand exactly what it means and how to show others.
For instance, we had in an old paradigm, we would look to those in Hollywood or government or media or whatever it was. It's like, oh, you follow this person or you follow this group or whatever that is. And those people in those positions didn't necessarily have our best interests in mind. But we ignored that. We ignored what was going on inside of us in lieu of fitting in for that acceptance.
Yeah, there's the hive mind, the going with the collective, doing it because the society, the family, that's what's expected, the obligation.
Community, like whatever level you were on, there was that following that path. And a lot of people are finding themselves waking up, literally, nowadays, and going, oh my gosh, who are the people? Who are the people around us? Do I even know these people in my own family, my own community, my own, whatever organization you find yourself in, and you feel like the black sheep. Right. You feel like an outcast. And you bring up your thoughts, your ideas, what is true for you, and all
what you're seeing, what
you're feeling. You're paying attention to these things, and the people around you are going, that kind of thing.
Italians are dramatic.
Don't pay attention to those things. So
yeah.
Anyhow, now we're having to look for that discernment within ourselves and let go of the fear of detaching from that family, the organization, the group, the thinking process, and start to think for ourselves as to what's in alignment for each individual person. And that puts us more in alignment with our spiritual path. And our spiritual path is really only going to make sense to us. It's not going to make sense from the outside looking in. We've even had people recently in our lives that it's like, well, we're worried about you. We're concerned about what you're doing or the decisions you're making. And it's not, matter of fact, things are going better for us than they ever have.
Yeah.
And it's a direct result of not continuing to conform with someone else's expectations of what they think is best for us. Even opportunities that would seem really great or situations that would seem really great, they weren't lining up.
Right. If it's not fully aligned, it's not aligned. And that's the whole question. Like there's a line from a movie, Ronin.
Ronin, the movie?
Yeah. Oh gosh, now I just forgot it. But it's like, if there is a doubt, there is no doubt. And that's it. It's
what?
So
you better
if
translate
you doubt, if you have a doubt as to whether something's something you should do or something you should partake in, participate in, purchase, then it's a no. And I want to talk too about the path that we're on is a path of spiritual sovereignty, and the self-responsibility. And when you're still working in that kind of groupthink, feeling the pressure of the society, community, family, and you're doing things out of obligation to that, to please others, then when things go sideways and you get injured, hurt, you have a bad experience, it's like, oh, well, that was bad luck, or, oh, I was doing what I needed to do to support the family. And so then you kind of like shift the blame onto something else rather than like going inside and seeing what's really going on with you and what were you trying to be shown, what was Spirit trying to show you, God trying to show you, so that you can right your own ship.
And this is where it's subtle. There's layers and levels of awareness and understanding in this process. Instead of shifting the responsibility to other people, we see how we can shift the responsibility to us. What do we need to do? How do we need to shift? How differently do we need to show up? And that allows for more empowerment in the process. Jocko Willink, he's a former Navy SEAL, and he's talking about leadership and how in the SEAL teams they would see how if something didn't go the way it was supposed to go, instead of blaming the subordinate, instead of blaming the junior person in the situation, they would see how did they show up as a leader in that dynamic that their message didn't get conveyed. It was the same thing in Systema.
And the art of war.
Right. In Systema, Vladimir and Constantine, one of the trainings we did, Constantine would do an explanation. Constantine's brilliant, like insanely brilliant guy.
And he moves like a freaking ninja.
He would give the instructions on how to do something, and then everybody would go and do it, and they're all, doing something that is not even remotely close to what he described. He would stop, have everybody come back in, and he would apologize to everybody. It's like, I'm really sorry. I explained this incorrectly.
Wow.
Let me try again. And he would go into his explanation, and then it was like, it landed because the people that were receiving the message a second time would be like, oh my gosh, he apologized. Wait a minute, we were screwing that up. So it's looking on creating that awareness on multiple levels and beginning to take ownership of this process.
Yes. Yes, yes.
What else we got?
So I wanted to give an example. I'm not going to use names or like of how I noticed this, because I don't feel like that's the right thing to do at this point. But
well, you don't name names. You point to situations and scenarios that people can.
Yeah, because it's not individual or unique to this situation. A friend of ours had gone to a concert recently and posted on a little reel or something, like a video clip of the concert. And the concert was by an artist that 3 years ago I had just discovered for myself, and kind of enjoyed this artist's music. But then in the last year and a half, I was noticing that I didn't feel aligned with the music. Something felt just a little bit off, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, I didn't have an explanation for it, but I knew it just didn't feel good. And it was just a little thing, but it was enough for me to be like, no, because I was already in the process of cleaning up energetically things in my life. So come back to the other day, I see this clip of this video of this artist, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen. And it felt so obvious that it was like, there's a little manipulation in there. And this is an artist that was supposed to be like one of us, like in the community, and it just didn't feel good. And so those little things, like if we're not really, really watching with a discerning eye, like not taking anything for granted. Like, what I mean by not taking for granted, it's like, oh, well, they're supposed to be one of us, they're safe. They're in our community, this person's in our community, they're safe. This situation is by somebody I trust, so it's safe for me. It's a good choice for me. Like, you can't do that. You've got to look at everything. Every interaction, every decision.
And I know this is going to sound very, I know how it can land for someone watching the video. And there are things, if you look at 5 years ago, what you believed and what you thought the world was like and the direction that it was going and how it drastically has changed. So what you believe now is so drastically different from 5 years ago. Christina and I are constantly in this incubator of this space that has been created here, that we're continually moving the Overton window.
Explain that.
The Overton window is kind of like what is normal, or what we're aware of. We continue to push that along a continuum to increase our awareness. And using the interactions we have with friends, family, loved ones, community, whatever it is,
social
clients, all
right.
of that, as how can we continue to increase our awareness on a daily basis to improve ourselves, improve our relationship, improve our situation. And as a result, we have to think differently, act differently, show up differently, feel differently about things as a result of that new information that comes in.
Right.
So what I'm proposing is, for those that are watching this, that are going, what the hell are they talking about? What does that mean? Well, watch the video again in a week. Watch this video again
and feel
in a month.
Right.
Watch this video again in 6 months and see how you believed, what you believe, what you think, what you feel each time you watch the video. And a big part of the process of what we're doing is when you have it's essentially trauma. We're all working to resolve our trauma on different levels. There's a disconnect from who we are as a man, a woman. And as we resolve that trauma, we become more and more present with what's going on right here, right now.
Right, the subtle shifts in the body,
and our awareness increases to bring us more present to what's going on right now. So this video, when you increase the awareness and become more present, it begins to erase the past and the future. And we get more present to what's going on now. So this information will make more and more sense.
Yes.
As the day goes by.
Definitely.
That was an Italian joke. Anyways.
I got it. You may be saying, but I am discerning. I'm making lots of choices. Like I'm doing better than I was. And yes, you are. And this, what we're talking about is the fine brush strokes. It's the real tiny minutia of details that, you may have been lazy about. You may have just not had the bandwidth to deal with. You may have let pass by, but you've already gained mastery in other things. It's time to shift and make that small pivot so that you're adding these other things into your awareness. Like this is how we roll, right? It's like if you're starting a yoga practice or a martial arts practice or some other kind of like learning how to draw, like at every point you realize, you reevaluate and realize like, oh, I've mastered this, or, like I've gotten a certain level of proficiency here and I can add more stuff.
You add more, but you also revise what you have learned.
Right.
How when I first started judo, my ability to throw a certain throw was at a certain level. But then you get more experience with that, and then you got to come back and have tweaks and adjustments by a teacher or an instructor to refine that same throw to get more efficient, to get more effective, to be more powerful with it, to be more, to put less effort into it. And that's the same thing what we're doing with our lives.
Yeah.
And when I say our lives, I don't mean just ours, like we're all doing
right, collectively. And it is also about finding comfort in what we're doing, but not complacency. Comfort
within the discomfort.
Right.
Like life is a struggle. That's the reality of life. However, we don't want to be self-abusive in the process of the struggle. Yeah,
because it just doesn't serve.
Nope.
But then the complacency of like, oh, well, I'm comfortable now. I'm good. It's like that also comes from the fear of the struggle. And that's why finding the comfort in the struggle allows you the bandwidth and the persistence to expand.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, observing, just staying in observer mode, like not taking things personally is so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a secret weapon. So.
Yeah, it's the observing. I think the observing is key. I think that's what we were. We'd meet new people, and it's like, oh, they're so cool. They're so new and different and all that. And then you jump into it, and it's before you know it, you've run by all the red flags, and you're in a similar situation or scenario as you were previously.
Right.
And I think that's been a slowing down process of, think of it like people in our lives. It's like membranes that by how they show up, how they act, how they, who they are.
Right.
They're absorbed into that different membrane, and they can move in and out based on how they show up.
Without us taking it personally.
Yeah.
Because remember, when we get caught in those not using our discernment and just like, for example, like meeting somebody new and you get all excited because it's new and different and exciting, like it's hitting on trauma that we haven't resolved about being accepted, about fear of abandonment, not being loved, and like, this person's going to love me. This is going to be the one. This is going to be it.
But it's not only like in romantic relationships. It's also with business. It's also with friendships. It's also with buddies. It's also with girlfriends. It's like...
And self-care things like body work and, this new fangled, type of treatment.
What are you talking about?
Like when you go, you're like the bright shiny light syndrome. You see somebody offering a new service, a new like healing modality. It's like, oh my God, this is it.
This is different than.
And then you leave and you're disappointed.
Well, it's not that they're disappointed. It's like it's like that addiction to the drama. We've talked about that in previous videos. It's that new and exciting thing, and not embracing the journey. It's like the flash in the pan kind of thing. This person has this, new fandangled neurology reset of the whatever, but they aren't able to provide the environment that the person is able to grow with. It's like the grow tower.
And have you done your basics like chop wood and carry water? Like, do you make your bed every day?
Basics.
Do you have routines? Do you take care of your home? Do you, do the things that need to be done around you so that you're not living in chaos? Like coming back to the very simple, right in your face stuff.
Yeah, it's like they talk about the businesses, that it's like, oh, you're going to get 10,000 Instagram followers and then I could make all these sales, but then that's the carrot. That's what everybody goes for, but they don't realize that those are all bots as far as people that are following them, and the 10,000 sales they made, they have 5,000 in returns within the next couple weeks, and then they don't have the infrastructure set up to support that business growth. I mean, there's layers and levels of this, and I think we have to evolve as individuals and as a society to look beyond the first dangly, shiny thing that everybody puts in front of our face.
Yeah.
To ask the questions, ask the important questions. It's the same thing about that those stem cell patches. I think they're great. However, the only thing that I was able to really find was all the glowing testimonials about those patches. And I had my own personal experience with them, but I wasn't able to find the answer through the company. I had to try it myself and see what worked and all of that kind of thing. I got the medical studies and all of that. However, the only thing that I could find was sit on the phone for 2 hours and have people say how they used it, and I got wonderful benefits, but they didn't.
Right, which just seems like brown nosing and like glossing over. It wasn't authentic.
It's like asking the difficult questions and getting down to what's really going to make a difference for you in your life, and that's what we both do. Is you kind of got to go through the grinder on a daily basis to be able to understand what the results are going to be by having personal experience with it.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, I just want to bring in one point that I feel like is super important in this discernment journey. Our susceptibility right now is into finding pleasure. Like that's where we're the most vulnerable, because we've all been uncomfortable. We all are battling our own levels and layers of addiction, or like wanting to escape or, dissociate because of pain and trauma. So the things that...
I wouldn't even say it's pleasure.
Well,
it's like
I'm thinking like
escaping. It's like disconnecting from being present.
It's all of it. I mean, there isn't. There is the escape. Yeah. There's all kinds of ways to call it, but like the things that you want to do, like going to dances, going to concerts, going to events, gatherings, being with people. The things that contact improv with punching system. Like the things that distract you from staying quiet. Okay, you can lump all of this into that. So like anytime you're like with a group and going and I've got plans for tonight, I've got plans for tomorrow night, I've got plans 3 times the next day. Those types of things are where we have to really do the fine-tune adjusting and be really present and aware, like, okay, how do I feel when I think of this? And is it like I'm excited because it seems like it's a great thing to do? And then when I really think through it to the other side, like you see how exhausted you're going to be afterwards. You see how like you start to notice how, well, for a couple of days after, it takes you time to recover from what you just did that you thought was bringing you pleasure and bringing you
it's a dopamine
a growth to your life, but really, like, you paid a big price. I hope this is making sense.
It's that addiction. It's a dopamine hit. It's a flash in the pan. And having the peak experience. And they're searching for the peak experience, be it the dance or the drugs or the, whatever that is, that you get that high, but and that's the initial, that's the carrot. You don't see the drop afterwards, the getting sick afterwards, the looking at the long-term piece. And I'm not saying not to have those experiences. I'm just saying that people get addicted to those experiences.
Right. And it pulls you off of your baseline in the chopping wood and carrying water, which is what we talk about a lot.
And you don't have that solid foundation that gives you the tools to be on your path.
Right. Are you constantly complaining that your life's chaotic? You feel blown out. You feel like
so busy.
Like so everything in your life just collapsed, and now you're, having to leave where you were living and sell all your stuff.
The woman that was here the other day about, she's always in her story.
Yeah.
Talking about all this.
Yeah. So this is what, we're not saying this stuff with judgment, because God knows we've both been in a ton of situations that we didn't make good discernments and we didn't make good choices, and shit really blew out sideways.
But I don't think judging is necessarily bad.
Well,
it creates a contrast.
So I look at my role in our community as like the art teacher. Okay, the art teacher is there to refine your skill. And so when you've put together a necklace, like I had this situation happen to me, like I was a budding jewelry maker, and I had this woman.
We're almost done.
I just got to say this one thing. I had this I thought it was just like this amazing necklace. And she goes in and critiques and shows me like all these places where I could have lined it up that would have just like 10x'd the thing. Like it would have just made it fabulous rather than like how wonderful I thought it was. And I got so mad and felt so criticized when she was helping me refine and take it to the next level so that it looked more solid and professional and not like, a toddler threw it together. You do know what I mean? That's an extreme way of saying it, but like, yeah, that's what I see what we're doing. It's not the criticizing and you're shit and you're fucking up. It's like, hey,
you may be,
but
you just might be.
We're not judging that. It's more like, here's
outcome?
Where you can shift and things will be like a lot better. All right, guys.
Are you done talking?
Have a great day.
Oh, yeah. If you have any questions, put them down below. Like and subscribe to the channel. You can email us. If you'd like to speak with us, we'll put in the description of it a link to schedule a time to talk with Christina or myself, 15-minute complimentary consultation. And we are now offering like intensives. You work with us, both of us, throughout a week period of time. People coming in town next week that we'll be working with. We're pretty excited about that. And it allows them to be in that flow, in that environment, and how we can help them with all the tools we have around, including the land, including the animals, and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And the bees. We're going to get more bees.
It's exciting. All right, guys. Take care.
Okay.
We'll see you next time.
Later. Bye.
Bye.